Hey, this is video number 2. My computer's acting up, but next question. What are some of your favorite draft day memories? How has the draft changed? Let me touch on how the draft has changed because there's so many memories to pick from. The draft has changed tremendously. It's become an all-day event now. Get up in the morning, come get your lottery number, see where your draft pick is, go golfing, come back, do the draft, sit around, talk about the draft afterwards, even poker games, things like that. It wasn't always like that, of course. It was before it was just come over to the draft, and that was it. We've had weeks where you knew your draft pick, weeks in advance. We had, kind of some smack talk in those weeks leading up to it. Who are you going to pick here? Who are you going to pick there? And then we've gone in where you didn't know your draft pick at all till 2 seconds before we started. So it's changed in that way. Speeches have grown a little bit more elaborate and crazy and just ridiculous. And the draft itself, throughout the rounds, the rounds have been extended. The league has changed. So the draft itself has become an all-day event and something we look forward to, of course, every year. As far as favorite memories, I don't even know where to start with that. I think everyone's favorite memory is their first draft. Of course, I remember that back in the late '90s, not knowing what to do, where to go, what fantasy football was even about. But then you remember, newcomers every year. I remember the year T-Bone first started, and Bazooka, of course, and Tree Levin. There's just some, you know, wondering, okay, is this guy going to be any good? Is he going to live up to all the trash he's talking? Um, Other favorite draft day early years when, Ron Capretta was still the commissioner, and we had, sound clips where, you'd have intro music and we'd have Jim Mora playing in the background talking about playoffs, when somebody made a horrible bad pick. Memories of Mike Hearn just getting smashed and hammered and not even remember, who he drafted, and he kept saying the same names over and over again. But I think my favorite draft memories are always the draft picks themselves. So, seeing Gronkowski going number 1 overall. Last year seeing Felix Jones go. The year Bugman drafted a defense and a kicker the first 2 rounds. Those are always, fun to look back on and laugh and kind of see the craziness and the madness behind some of the thoughts in some owner's head. But particularly one draft pick of mine that really kind of stands out was back in 2010, the 4th round. I decided I was going to pick a guy that I knew half the league, maybe even more than half the league, had no clue who he was, but I needed to make sure he was on my team, and that guy's name, Arian Foster. Turned out to be the number 1 running back, just kind of blew it up and led me to my championship that year. But I remember when I picked him, guys turned to me, Tree Levin especially, said, "Who is this guy? Who does he play for? What's he all about?" I remember guys flipping through their magazines saying he's not even listed in here, and just, it was just fun to know that I had that, advantage, and I knew who this guy was based on some of my research. And after week 1, everybody knew who Arian Foster was. Over 100 yards that first week, I think 2 or 3 touchdowns, and led it to the promised land. So that was something that sticks out in my heart. But like I said, it's impossible to pick a favorite draft day memory. It's just every year there's something that sticks out and something that just, really just kind of makes you laugh. So next question. The league is full of unique rivalries. Talk about some of them and yours. So there's been a lot of rivalries over the years. Some have come and gone. Some are good. Some are bad. Some that stick out are Jocko and Adam. That was fun, kind of seeing those two go at it. Sinetric and Ralph, there's some strong hatred there and some funny stories that go along with that. Some eating contests, some races. But when you talk about the CFL and the rivalries, you're talking about C Train and Bazooka. So I don't think many people know the story of that. It was back in, I think, 2002, 2003 or so, Bazooka's first year, and we were anticipating him. We didn't know what to expect. Ron was talking about this guy he worked with, was interested in joining the league, and he kind of came in, and Ron kind of was walking him around and introducing everybody to each other. And he comes up to me and says, "Bernie, this is C Train. He's a legend in the CFL." And then he was like, "C Train, this is Bernie." And So all of a sudden, he starts running his mouth, Bazooka. I mean, I was coming off 4 or 5 straight years of playoff runs. I had a championship under my belt. Just came off one of the most dominant rosters I think I've ever had with LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, Jerry Rice, Antonio Freeman. I think I had Chris Carter on that team, and Rich Gannon was my quarterback. It was just, unfortunately, I didn't take home the hardware. I lost to Adam, but I was, kind of on my high horse, and then I was feeling pretty good. And this guy comes in and starts, running his mouth. I don't know if he thought like he would find who the top dog was and try to go after him, but man, I just felt like so disrespected. I felt like this guy, he is walking in here day one, has no idea about the history of the league, how important the league is, and just in my mind kind of made a mockery of it and just, was, of course, the way everyone knows Bazooka now with his girl laugh and his, ridiculous statements that he makes. I mean, it just kind of hit a nerve there. I just did not appreciate the way he was talking to me and everyone else in the league because he didn't know what he was getting himself into. And of course, looking back, fast forward, same old Bazooka, same old Bernie, running his mouth, not backing it up. I'm sitting here with 3 championships. He has 1, but I don't know. I don't like the guy. I mean, it's still feel like after all these years, he still has no respect. He still doesn't understand the importance of the league. And that's something that, I don't think will ever fade away. It's something that, every year we're going to go back and forth against each other. This past year, he ran his mouth all year. He thought he had the best team, comes to the playoffs and does nothing with it. And then look who comes home with the trophy. So, Bazooka, just get your act together and just, man up and at least win some more championships before you keep running your mouth because it's just getting old and tired and we're just kind of sick of it. So, next question. How has the league evolved over the years in your eyes? What's the biggest changes? The league continues to evolve, and the board members, we get together every year and talk about what needs to be changed. We try and keep the history of the league intact, but it'll continue to evolve. It'll continue to change as the NFL changes. We're going to have to change with it. But I mean, in the beginning, we had 2 divisions, 2 halves of the year. If you won the first half, you're in a playoff spot, and then halfway through the season, you went back to 0-0. The season started over, so you had a second half of the football season to try and make that second playoff spot. So that's changed into 3 divisions and a wild card. The scoring system has changed; it has evolved. We've added tight end. The roster sizes have increased. The draft has gone more rounds. And I just expect the league to continue to make the necessary changes. And who knows, we may even expand it to more rounds and more players and PPR and auction drafts. We've talked about all those options, but we want to keep the history intact and keep it to a point where, we want to keep, the intensity and the competition always at a high level. So next question. Talk about some past CFL owners you remember, why you remember them. Oh, man, we've seen a lot come and go, some good, some bad. The beginning years, we had Mike Hearn, who would just get hammered every draft. We had his son, Mike Hearn's son, come in. We've had, Matt Sega, Rocky Russo, Spencer Detter, just, kind of guys that have, made their mark and left. Nick Losato was in the league, Mitch Fusick, Joe Draganica, both Joe Draganicas, Jocko, PJ. I mean, there's just so many guys that couldn't make it, couldn't cut it. But you always have that core group that's here every year, who's going to be talking crap every year, and just, kind of makes it memorable. But, trying to think if there's anyone else that I really, kind of miss or wonder about these days. But I think Peanut was one of the main ones. I mean, he won a championship, and then you never heard from the kid again. Don't really remember much about him other than that. And, we'll see what the upcoming years hold. Hopefully we don't have too much more turnover, hopefully, in these upcoming years. We obviously have some characters in the CFL. Tell me your opinion of a few: T-Bone, Bugman, Rampage, etc. Oh, man, T-Bone's always going to be one of my favorites. He came in the league that first year, and I got to be honest, I was impressed with his knowledge. He just knew football better than anyone I've ever met before. And he is a character I mean, obviously the best word for him. I mean, he'd yell at the TV, he'd show up in his sweatpants. He'd fall asleep on the floor, and I mean, eat food, win eating competitions. I mean, T-Bone is just. I'm so glad that he's back in the league, and I tell you what, it wasn't the same without him. Bugman, of course, Rampage, Bug Boy. These guys have been along as around the league as from the beginning, and it's something that every year it's you don't know what to expect. We've seen name changes, we've seen strategies different years, people attacking each other. So I mean these guys are CFL experts, and it's something that every year we try to stake our claim for that trophy. So. Um, Favorite food from the CFL kitchen made by Chef Donna. Um, I haven't been around, Sundays as much ever since I moved down south, but, back in the early days, pizza rolls were always a favorite of mine. I'll never forget the day Donna was trying to figure out what everyone wants, and T-Bone wanted a burger and just said, "Oh, burger's fine with me," and everyone just started, busting out laughing. But yeah, I think pizza rolls just because that's what I remember from the early days. So let me take a break here and give